You were a good dog. They just left anyway. You're about to see the world through the eyes of an animal, not as a human, but as them. Whether you're in bed in London or watching from a quiet corner in Seoul, this journey is yours. Comment where you're watching from and what time it is. We read them all. And if you enjoy the experience, tap like or subscribe to follow more creatures into the wild. Let's begin. You were born in a warm pile of siblings, all legs and squeaks and instinct, tumbling over each other like spilled socks. You didn't know it yet, but you were already the favorite. The first to nurse, the loudest to whine, the one with the little white spot on your chest that made people say "oh" like it meant something. Your first memories are smells, not sights, not sounds. Those came later, like background noise to the real world, which was scent. Milk was a smell. Safety was a smell. Mother was a smell that curled around you like a blanket too soft to ever exist again. The air was thick, with fur, warmth, and the kind of peace that only things too small to worry can feel. Then hands came, huge, clumsy, babbling hands that lifted you from the warm tangle of siblings and held you to a face that reeked of toothpaste and joy. A child, a small human. You remember the breath, sweet, loud, and right up in your face. And the laughter that followed when your stubby paws paddled the air like you were already trying to run towards something. You didn't know what names were, but the child gave you one. It meant nothing at first, just a shape in the noise, but every time it was spoken, it was followed by a touch, a treat, or a wide grin. Eventually, you understood. This word means you. This word means good. This word means home. You were trained with kindness and chicken bits. You were taught to sit, to stay, to not eat crayons. You were not very good at that last one. The house was your kingdom. The rug, your jungle. The couch, a mountain you weren't supposed to climb but always did. You were praised for chasing tennis balls and forgiven for peeing behind the laundry basket. They called you smart, loyal, the best boy in the world, and you believed them, because why wouldn't you? Every day was a ritual of love. The door would open, and the boy would come home from wherever children disappear to during daylight hours, dropping his bag with a thud and shouting your name like it was a secret spell that summoned tail wags and uncontainable joy. He'd lie on the floor. You'd tackle him. It was sacred. At night, you curled beside him in bed, one ear twitching at the soft sounds of dreams. Sometimes he whispered secrets to you, about bullies, about fear, about a girl named Taylor who didn't say hi back. You didn't understand the words, not all of them, but you understood the shiver in his voice, the loneliness, and you licked it away as best you could, pressing your body against his until the sadness retreated. You thought, this is forever, because dogs do not understand endings, not until they happen. You thought thunder was the worst thing in the world, the vacuum cleaner, a close second. You didn't know heartbreak was coming, slow and quiet, wearing the mask of routine. Boxes started appearing, brown ones that smelled like tape and cardboard and change. People walked faster, talked louder. Doors opened and closed without anyone calling your name first. You tried to help by standing in the way. You sniffed each box, wagging your tail, like maybe there was a treat inside. There never was. Then the suitcases came out, and you should have known. Maybe part of you did, but you believed in them the way only a dog can, without condition, without reason, without the faintest doubt that you belonged wherever they were going. The boy seemed excited. He said things like new house and long drive and don't worry, buddy. But he didn't smell excited. He smelled off, nervous, like when he broke a dish and tried to hide the pieces before his mother found out. The morning they left, they fed you extra. That was the first sign. 2 scoops instead of 1, plus a little chicken from the fridge. A royal breakfast. You wagged, you danced. You thought, we must be going somewhere amazing. You followed them to the car, tail high, ears perked. The boy hugged you too long. That was the second sign. The door closed. The engine started. The tires moved. You barked once, then twice. You ran alongside them, down the drive. They didn't stop, not yet. You waited where the car had been. Not just that day, but the next, and the next. Your food bowl sat empty. Your tail wagged slower. The sun rose and fell without explanation. No one opened the door. No one said your name. And you were still the best dog in the world, weren't you? The first night, you slept on the welcome mat, because that's what it was called. Welcome. A promise stitched in cheerful letters. The last word you understood before everything stopped making sense. You curled there because it smelled like them. Their feet, their socks, their bad decisions. You knew it wasn't bedtime, not really, but your stomach was full and your legs were tired from running up and down the street barking at a car that didn't come back. So you did what a good dog does. You waited. The moon came up like a pale eye in the sky, watching you not watch anything at all. You dozed. You dreamed. You jerked awake at every car passing in the distance, tail thumping, heart full, ready to forgive them for being late. But they were not late. They were gone. The second day, the food bowl remained empty, which was odd, because food bowls don't do that. They fill. That is their job. Your job is to sit politely and drool in anticipation, to wag exactly once before diving nose first into joy. You paced near the bowl. You nudged it. You sat and looked at it the way you looked at the boy when he had snacks he pretended weren't for you. But nothing happened. The sun got higher. The shade moved. And the smell of yesterday's breakfast faded into something bitter and mocking. You drank from the hose, the one that always leaked a little at the base. It was warm, metallic, and tasted like disappointment. Still, it was water. And you were learning now. Not all lessons are taught gently. You started barking more, not aggressively, just expectantly, like maybe your voice could wake the world up. The mailman gave you a funny look. The neighbor with the loud sandals tossed a biscuit toward you and muttered something about poor thing. You wagged anyway, because hope is hard to kill when it has 4 legs and a wag reflex. The third night, the wind changed. It brought smells from far away. Pizza, car exhaust, something sweet and rotten. You followed it to the edge of the fence, sat, listened, thought. The gate was closed. You stared at it for a long time. It had always been a line you were not supposed to cross. That was the rule. Stay. Good boy. Inside. Safe. But the inside was silent now, and the outside whispered, you. Returned to the porch, slept curled against the door, dreamed of footsteps, woke to silence. The next morning, your ribs felt like questions. You chewed grass. You licked the empty bowl. You barked once. No answer. By the 5th day, even the welcome mat betrayed you. Its smell faded beneath the dust and heat, and your own slowly unraveling certainty. You still lay on it, but now only because it was habit. Routine. A ritual carved into your instincts like the sit command or the joy of belly rubs. You started, walking the perimeter, not to protect the house. There was nothing left to protect, but to remember where you were, because the world, in its infinite cruelty, kept moving even when yours had stopped. Some birds still chirped, some squirrels still ran. The breeze still nudged the wind chimes into meaningless melodies, and the cars still passed, but none of them stopped. A week passed, then more. Time became a thing you smelled on your own fur, stronger, dirtier, more uncertain. You stopped barking when footsteps came near. You learned that humans will feed you if you look pathetic enough, but they won't open their homes. Not for a mutt, not for someone else's problem. Children pointed. Parents pulled them away. Some nights, you walked the neighborhood. You visited your old haunts, the park with the good grass, the tree with the squirrel that always mocked you, the street lamp where the boy once tied your leash while he bought ice cream and shared the last lick with you. It was all still there, but none of it was yours anymore. Your name started to fade. No one said it. You still remembered it, deep in your bones, tied to praise and treats and the boys' laughter. but it felt like a costume now. Something you used to wear before the show ended, and the lights turned off, and no one clapped. You chased fewer things, barked less, slept more, but never well. You became smaller, not in size, but in shape. The world was too large, too loud, too indifferent, and you no longer took up space the way you used to. You flinched when strangers reached out. You stopped expecting kindness. You stopped expecting anything, but you were still, in some cruel, stubborn corner of your heart, a good dog, because you never forgot how, even when the bowl was dry, even when the door never opened, even when the name vanished from every mouth but your own memory, even when no one watched and no one cared, and the world told you, softly, daily, that you did not matter anymore. You still sat, you still waited, and somewhere, in a dream only dogs understand, you still wagged. The car door slammed, the engine revved, and they were gone. Just like that. No ceremony, no farewell, no last belly rub or scritch behind the ears. Not even the courtesy of a confused, "Wait, did we forget something?" Look, you stood there on the porch, tail high, ears perked, expecting someone, anyone, to roll down the window and say your name like a lifeline. But the window stayed shut, the tires rolled, the smell of chicken nuggets faded down the block, and the car turned the corner without so much as a backward glance. You didn't panic. Not at first. Humans do strange things. They forget socks, birthdays, and whether they turned the stove off. You've seen them walk into a room and immediately forget why they're there. You've seen them drop sandwiches, then pick them up and eat them. Anyway, like 5 seconds could sterilize a sidewalk. So yes, they were forgetful, clumsy, distracted, but you were unforgettable. You were their dog, the one who barked at the vacuum like it owed you money, the one who slept beside the boy during thunderstorms and licked away tears he pretended weren't there. They would remember you. Eventually, you curled up by the front door and waited. That's what good dogs do. That's what you do. You waited as the sun dragged itself across the sky like it was just as tired of existing as you were. You waited as the shadows stretched and yawned and curled around your paws. You waited through every passing car, every creaking branch, every false hope disguised as an engine's approach. Because they said, "Good dog." They called you family. They let you lick the ice cream spoon after they were done. And humans don't just leave family behind. Right? Right? The first neighbor passed by around noon. A man with socks and sandals, carrying a grocery bag like it weighed more than his marriage. He saw you lying on the mat, hesitated, then looked away like guilt was contagious and he hadn't paid for the vaccine. By evening, the wind changed. It brought new smells, fried food, old tires, wet pavement, but none of it smelled like them. Not the boy, not the mother who always said you shed too much, not the father who fed you bacon when no one was looking and then swore he didn't. Just strangers, ghosts in shoes, a blur of legs and feet and fast-paced indifference. You barked once when a delivery driver pulled up across the street. He flinched like you'd hurled a lawsuit at him, then quickly dropped the package and left like his soul was on fire. You didn't mean to scare him, you just wanted him to know someone is still here, someone is still waiting. The porch light clicked on by itself when the sky turned navy. That stupid automatic timer didn't care that no one was home. In night teams, lit up the welcome mat like a punchline, like the world was laughing behind your back. You stayed. Because of course you did. Because dogs don't understand the concept of abandonment. Only the absence that follows it. You sniffed the doorframe, still smelled like them, like lotion and cereal, and the cheap lavender spray they used to cover up whatever died in the garbage disposal last summer. Your tail wagged once, involuntarily, because if it still smelled like them, maybe they were just delayed. You curled, tighter, head on paws, ears tuned to every distant hum of possibility. The second car that night slowed down. A pair of eyes met yours from behind the windshield. You lifted your head. They kept driving. That's when something inside you, something small, naive, loyal to a fault, started to shift. It wasn't that they forgot. It was that they chose not to come back. You didn't understand why. You still don't. But you started to suspect it wasn't about you. It was about whatever strange disease humans carry that makes them say forever, like it has an expiration date. They throw the word love around like it's a tennis ball. Fun, casual, and disposable when it gets muddy. You were clean. You were fed. You were good. And still, they left. You heard the nightbirds chirp. The crickets stuttered out their rhythm. Somewhere far away, a baby cried. You listened for your name. Nothing. You stood up, walked to the edge of the porch, looked down the street. Empty. Somewhere out there was a car with your scent still on the seats, with your fur on the upholstery, and your bark echoing inside their heads like a ghost that wouldn't sit still. But they weren't coming back. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Maybe not ever. And still, you stayed. Because you were raised to believe that love means waiting. Because the door might still open. Because even when you're wrong, you're loyal. And because you are, against all logic and cruelty, still a good dog. The next morning, you woke up with a cramp in your leg and a nose, full of dust. You stretched, shook off, and checked the driveway like it was a fresh crime scene, still empty. No tire tracks, no familiar smell, just a dead leaf stuck to the concrete, and a few ants doing whatever it is ants do, probably something deeply organized and judgmental. You sniffed the front yard again, every inch, just in case they had somehow returned in the night and forgotten to let you know. But they hadn't. The house stood still, silent, not even the buzz of the old fridge inside, or the clink of a spoon against cereal bowl, just shutters creaking, the wind brushing past like it didn't want to make eye contact. The food bowl was now more of a metaphor than a meal, a cruel reminder that generosity had a time limit, and that limit had expired somewhere between "we'll be right back" and "let's not tell the dog." You tried scratching at the door once more, lightly this time, like maybe politeness was the key to getting back inside. Nothing. You barked again, not loud, more of a question than a statement. Still nothing. You padded over to the neighbor's lawn. It smelled like chemicals and disappointment. They were the kind of people who vacuumed their driveway. You once watched the man argue with a tree branch for falling onto his hedge. The woman had a voice like a smoke alarm and called all animals critters, which was how you knew she wasn't to be trusted. She saw you, though, peeking through the blinds like she was monitoring an active crime scene. Her eyes squinted, her mouth pinched, and you knew in that instant that if she could have filed a noise complaint against your existence, she would have done it 3 days ago. But she didn't come outside. She didn't say your name. She didn't even open the gate. Instead, she disappeared behind her floral curtains and, presumably, wrote a strongly worded letter to God about how your fur was lowering property values. You moved on. Down the street, a jogger passed by. You wagged. Out of instinct. Out of hope. Out of some desperate need to be recognized as someone's dog. She looked at you like you were a moving pile of germs and picked up her pace. You could practically smell the hand sanitizer wafting off her. It occurred to you then. No one was going to help. Because no one thought you were lost. They thought you were stray, which to a human means broken, dangerous, optional. You, who once had a birthday hat and your own stocking during that holiday where they hang socks by fire for some reason. You, who used to wear a little sweater when it was cold out because it's cute and he gets chilly. You, who had a spot on the couch, not near the couch on it. Now, you were a thing to be avoided. A maybe rabid footnote on someone's walk to get overpriced coffee. You wandered farther, past the houses that still smelled like people, and into the ones that didn't. The ones with rusted fences, overgrown weeds, porches that creaked like old bones. A few had dogs behind the gates. They barked when they saw you. Not with welcome, not with warning. Just noise. You didn't bark back. There didn't seem to be a point. Eventually, you made your way to the edge of the neighborhood. The place where grass gives up and the sidewalk turns to gravel. You stood there for a long time, listening, watching, trying to decide if you were still waiting or just existing. That night, it rained. Of course it did. And not the poetic kind of rain that falls softly and makes humans kiss under umbrellas in romantic comedies. No, this was the kind of rain that dumps sideways and gets into your ears. No matter how you tilt your head. The kind that turns dirt into soup and makes the world smell like wet pennies and garbage. You curled up beneath the broken lawn chair on your porch, the one no one ever fixed even though they kept saying they would. Funny that. Humans are great at saying they'll fix things, not so great at actually doing it. You dreamed that night. Not about food or running. You dreamed about the boy. He was calling your name. And for once, in the dream, he was running too. You woke up wagging. The porch was still empty. You licked the rain from your fur. You sniffed at the door again. Still smelled like them. Just a little. Fainter now. Like something packed in the wrong box and left behind with the winter coats. You curled tighter, waited longer. There's no training for this. They teach you sit, stay, shake. They don't teach you what to do when forever ends without explanation. They don't teach you how to hold still when love stops looking in your direction. You were a good dog. You are a good dog. And that's the worst part, isn't it? Because you still want them back. Even now. Even after everything. Even if they never deserved you in the first place. You have a job. Not a paid one, obviously. No health benefits. No weekends off. No performance reviews that end with a steak dinner and a certificate. But a job nonetheless. You are the guardian of this house. Never mind that the house is empty. That the lights don't turn on and the fridge hasn't hummed in weeks. Never mind that the mail piles up like a slow, papery avalanche and the lawn has grown tall enough to lose small children in. This was your home, and good dogs protect what's theirs. So you patrol the porch, the sidewalk, the yard. You bark at squirrels. You sniff tire tracks. You chase off the occasional pigeon with the audacity to land on the mailbox. Somewhere in your brain, the part still shaped like pack loyalty and unbreakable faith, you believe that if you guard long enough, they'll come back. That your vigilance will be rewarded with the sound of car tires and a key in the door. That they'll see you, still here, and say, "Look at that. He never gave up." And they'll cry, and you'll wag, and everything will go back to before. Because dogs are idiots, but the best kind. The kind that keeps showing up. That waits for people who don't deserve waiting. That loves through silence, through empty windows, through rain that soaks your ribs and cold nights that make your bones hum with regret. You don't know they're not coming back. You only suspect it, like the way you suspect the mailman is actually evil, or that the neighbor's cat is plotting world domination. It's a theory, not yet a certainty. So you wait, and you guard. On day whatever this is, you've lost count, because time isn't marked in minutes anymore. It's marked in belly emptiness and door staring. A teenager cuts through your yard. He's got headphones, a hoodie, and the general aura of someone who thinks deodorant is optional. He doesn't look at you, doesn't care, but he walks too close to the porch. So you bark, loud, deep, from the chest, the kind of bark that used to make your humans laugh and say, "He thinks he's a big dog." The teenager jumps, drops his phone, calls you something that probably isn't a compliment. You don't chase him, you just sit back down and stare. Because that's your porch, and he had no business walking near it. Even if the last person who mattered stepped off it weeks ago and never looked back. Even if you're defending a ghost. Later, you hear a delivery truck. You run to the curb like you used to, back when it meant packages that came with boxes full of crinkly paper and chewable edges. Back when the boy would shout, "He thinks it's for him!" and your tail would beat the floor like a war drum. The truck slows. You sit. You wag. The driver looks at you, then keeps driving. Of course, no one delivers to ghosts. You retreat to the porch and lie down again, chin on paws, eyes blinking against the sun. The heat presses down like a lazy hand, and the air tastes like dust and disappointment. The house creaks. The wind rustles through the long grass. Somewhere, a dog barks. You don't answer. You used to bark back. Used to tell the neighborhood, "I'm here. I exist. I matter." Now you're not sure anyone's listening, but you don't leave. Not yet. Not because of hope. That's just a word now. Faded like the smell of your boy's backpack. You stay because it's the only thing that makes sense anymore. Because when everything else is gone, the food, the family, the reason, duty is the only thing left. You were trained to sit, stay, protect. You don't know how not to. The world can forget you, but you remember it. And so you wait. You're a good dog after all. That's what good dogs do. You don't know how long it's been. Days, weeks, some cruel stretch of time that humans use clocks and calendars to measure, as if it changes anything, as if putting grief in boxes makes it smaller. You don't have that luxury. You have the sun, the moon, and the increasing distance between the scent of your humans and the dirt where you sleep. You wake when it's light. You sleep when it's too hard to stand. You bark sometimes, not because you expect a reply, but because silence makes you feel like you've stopped existing. One morning, the trash truck comes, now that you remember. Big, loud, yellow, and miserable. A metal beast with bad breath. You used to bark at it with righteous fury, protecting your kingdom from its groaning metal hunger. The boy would laugh and say, "He's going to eat the truck someday." He didn't know it would be the truck that keeps you fed now. You wait until it's gone, until the bins are left like carcasses. Then you do something you would have never done back in the old life. You tip the neighbor's bin. It's harder than it looks. The lid fights you. The wheels creak. You slip once and scrape your paw on the pavement. But eventually, gravity wins, as it always does. And the bin hits the ground with a thud that feels like failure and victory at the same time. Inside, there's treasure. Not gold, not bones, not even meat, but grease-soaked napkins. A half-eaten sandwich crust. Something once shaped like chicken, now shaped like regret. And you eat it. Not because you want to, but because your ribs feel like prison bars and your stomach hasn't made a happy noise in days. It's revolting. It's incredible. You lick your lips and gag at the same time. This is survival now. Dignity is a luxury for animals with full bowls. Someone yells from a window. You don't even look. The voice is sharp and fast and disgusted. They're not angry because you're suffering. They're angry because you made a mess they might have to clean. That's how humans work. Empathy up until inconvenience. You leave the trash tipped. You don't apologize. You're not that kind of dog anymore. Later that day, you return to the porch. Your porch. The paint is peeling. A wasp nest is forming in the corner. The mail slot is jammed, but it's still yours. The smell of your humans lingers, fainter each day, like perfume on old fabric. You lie there for hours, sometimes with your eyes open, sometimes not, and you think. That's new, the thinking. You never used to think so much. You didn't have to. Life was a series of events. Eat, play, protect, repeat. Now it's a fog. Every sound makes you flinch, not from fear, but from the raw, idiotic hope that it might be them. A car passes, a door slams. Someone says, "Good boy," to another dog. Your heart lurches and then collapses again like an old tent. The worst part? You still wag sometimes. Not even on purpose. It's automatic, like your tail doesn't believe your brain. like your body refuses to catch up to the truth. You start dreaming during the day, not sleep dreaming, waking dreaming. You imagine them pulling up, laughing, calling your name. You imagine running down the steps, tail blurring, ears flapping, launching yourself into their arms. You imagine the boy crying and saying he's sorry, and you imagine forgiving him, because you would. You already have. But when you open your eyes, there's only the wind and a gum wrapper rolling by like some poetic metaphor even you're too depressed to appreciate. Eventually, the hunger hits again. You head to the park. The park is different now. You used to come here in a car. The boy would unbuckle your seatbelt. Yes, you had a seatbelt. Open the door, and you'd explode out. Pure joy on 4 legs. Ball chases, frisbees, roll in the grass. Pretend you don't understand, drop it, because it was funny. Now, you walk. They're alone. Slowly. No leash. No laughter. Just pads on pavement and the dull ache in your hips. You scavenge near the picnic tables. You find a juice box with just enough sugar to give your organs something to argue about. You find a hot dog bun that smells like every mistake you've made in the past month. You eat both. A toddler points at you and says, "Doggy." The mother pulls him close and says, "Don't touch it. It, not him, not the dog, just it." You don't blame them. You probably look awful. Your fur's patchy. You've got a limp from that fall near the dumpster. Your collar's still on, but it's dirty and bent. Your tag is missing, lost somewhere in the tall grass during a night you don't want to remember, but still, it stings. You limp back to your porch by evening. You collapse more than lie down, and for a while you just breathe. That's your entire job now. Breathing, waiting, guarding. You still believe, stupidly, heroically, that maybe tomorrow they'll come back, that maybe the door will open, and the boy will look just as broken as you feel, that maybe none of this was intentional, but if not tomorrow, then the next day, or the one after that, or the one after that. Because you're a good dog, and good dogs don't stop waiting. Not until someone tells them to, and no one ever told you to. There's a moment right before you eat something disgusting where your body hesitates, a flicker of the old rules. This is where you used to wait for a command, a bowl, a smile, something that said, "This food is for you." That moment still happens, but you ignore it now, because hunger doesn't care about rules. And you are hungry in a way that makes rules feel imaginary, like leashes, or fences, or love. You start your morning like always, crawling stiffly from your nest of porch dirt and broken dreams, stretching limbs that ache even when you sleep. Your stomach growls with the elegance of a dying accordion. The ants in the corner have built a kingdom beside the mat where you used to nap proudly, and you're starting to resent how organized they are. At least they have a queen. You just have a collapsing food chain. You sniff the air, not out of curiosity anymore. It's just reflex. Survival runs on scent. Nothing fresh, nothing familiar. Just the usual cocktail of lawn chemicals, moldy, wood, and the sharp tang of human waste. You head toward the alley, the one behind the pizza place. The alley where cardboard boxes sag like forgotten promises and dumpsters lean like they've been drinking. You used to avoid this area. Too loud, too smelly. Too many cats who look at you like lawyers preparing a case. But now this is breakfast. The dumpster lid is closed. Of course it is. You circle it twice, sniff the edges, lick the pavement. There's grease here. Old, rancid, beautiful grease. And a chicken bone soaked in something that might have once been cheese. You chew it. Not because it tastes good, because your body demands tribute. Your body, by the way, is a traitor now. It doesn't feel like yours anymore. Your legs shake, even when you're not cold. Your coat is patchy, your ribs show, and your eyes are getting that faraway look. The one you saw in other dogs back when you had a home and they didn't. You used to pity them. Now you wonder how they lasted this long. You paw at the dumpster. Nothing gives. You jump, poorly, and scrape your chest on the metal edge. The lid rattles and stays shut, like it's personally offended you exist. You bark once, a low, angry thing, not a call for help, just frustration made sound. You back, up, turn, and do what shame has taught you to do. You knock over the trash can beside it. It crashes to the ground with a metallic scream, spilling its contents like a piñata at a funeral. Banana peels, styrofoam cups, half a burger with one bite missing. Jackpot, you dive in. A raccoon hisses at you from under a nearby bin, its face like a tiny gremlin judge. You snarl. It backs off. You eat fast, faster than you should. You don't savor. You shovel. Because you never know when the next meal is coming, or if it's coming at all. You eat until your mouth is dry and your stomach burns from too much too fast. Then you sit beside the wreckage, panting, and let the pain spread. It's a good pain, a full pain. You'll take it. Behind you, a door slams. Someone shouts, "Hey!" You bolt, because that's what you do now. You bolt, you don't wait to explain. You don't try to look innocent. You run like guilt on four legs. Because humans don't care why you're in the trash. Only that it makes their alley look untidy. They don't see a starving animal. They see a problem with paws. You run 2 blocks before stopping. You collapse behind a shed that smells like paint thinner and mildew. You lick your leg even though there's no wound. It's just something to do, something normal. You miss normal. You miss knowing when your next meal would come. You miss not having to make choices like, do I eat this sausage wrapper or do I chew on my own paw for comfort? The worst part? The guilt's still there. You ate garbage and you feel guilty because you remember the boy's voice. Don't eat that. Gross. And his laughter when you tried anyway. You remember being fed real food by real hands with real love. And now you eat like a rat and feel like a thief. You lie there until your breath slows, until the sounds of the street go back to pretending you don't exist. And then, because you have nothing else, you head back to the porch. Not because it offers comfort, but because it's yours. Or was. The mat is soaked from last night's rain. The bowl is still upside down. The wind moves the empty swing set in the yard like a cruel joke. But you lie down anyway, because hunger is only part of the pain. The rest of it is remembering that once someone filled that bowl without being asked. You dream of kibble, not the cheap stuff, the fancy, crunchy kind that came in bags so shiny they reflected your tail wag. Chicken flavored, with little fake bacon bits and mysterious brown triangles that probably weren't food but tasted like hope. You dream of the sound, that glorious rattle of food in a ceramic bowl. The sound that meant someone cared you were alive. You wake up chewing a rock. You spit it out and gag. Your tongue is dry. Your throat is raw. You want to cry, but dogs don't do that. Not properly. So instead, you let out a whine so low, it gets lost in the breeze. You stand. Every movement now is a decision. You weigh it. You calculate the energy. Walking hurts. But lying down feels like surrender. And you've never been good at that. You sniff the wind. Something smells edible, not food. Let's not get delusional. But edible. Edible adjacent. You follow it. It leads you behind a diner, a place that once smelled like comfort and now smells like burnt oil and tax fraud. You peer around the side. There's a bin, a real one, and it's open. Someone's propped the lid with a broken broom handle, either out of generosity or laziness. You don't care. You approach it slowly, not out of fear. You've stopped being afraid of things like consequences, but out of habit. You're still polite, even when starving. The bin is glorious. Half a sandwich, cold fries, a hot dog bun soaked in soda. This is luxury. This is a feast for kings. You dig in like a dog who forgot he used to have manners. You eat until your face is sticky and your stomach aches in that dangerous, sharp way it does when it's been empty too long and suddenly remembers how to work. And then a voice. Hey, get out of there! You look up, nose dripping, tail mid-wag. A man in an apron stands at the back door. He's holding a trash bag like it's a weapon. His face is red. His words are mean. You wag again, just in case, because you're still polite. Still, hoping someone, someday, will see your ribs and broken tail and think maybe I should help. He throws the bag. It doesn't hit you, but it lands close enough that the sound makes you flinch. You run. Fast. Too fast. Your legs aren't built for sprinting anymore, but you don't stop until the diner is 3 blocks away and your lungs are wheezing like busted accordion bellows. You collapse. Behind a bench and pant like you're trying to breathe through a straw, and then you laugh. Well, you try to. It comes out as a hacking cough, but it's laughter in spirit, because you just got yelled at for trying to eat garbage. Garbage. Food no one wanted. Food someone paid to have taken away, and you were punished for it. Humans are a fascinating species, capable of poetry, architecture, and inventing 30 flavors of ice cream, and yet not one of them looked at you and thought, maybe that dog shouldn't have to dive headfirst into a dumpster to survive. But no, you're just a stray, a moving inconvenience, a furry reminder that not everyone gets a happy ending. You lick grease from your paw and try not to think about the smell of your boy's backpack, or how he used to drop crumbs and giggle when you vacuumed them up like a living Swiffer. You try not to remember what sit felt like when it meant praise, because now you sit in alleys, and the only thing you get is yelled at. You wander again, because there's no such thing as being full now, only being less empty than before. You find a dead bird on the sidewalk. It's already stiff. Its eyes are gone. Something got to it. First, you sniff it, then walk away. You haven't lost all your dignity. Not yet. Down the street, a man walks a dog. A real dog. Fat. Glossy. Wearing a little raincoat because apparently it might drizzle. The leash is embroidered. The man's coffee costs more than you did. You stare at them from behind a bush. The other dog doesn't see you, or pretends not to. It's been domesticated out of empathy. You want to hate them, but you don't. It's not the dog's fault he still has a home. Still has regular meals and someone who scoops his poop and buys him outfits. You just want to be him. Just for a day. Maybe just long enough to remember what full feels like. You go back to your porch. What's left of it? The mat is gone now, blown away probably, or stolen by another dog who needed it more. You don't blame them. The food bowl has become a bird bath. You drink from it. The water is warm and has something floating in it. You don't ask questions. The house still smells like absence. You lie down, you close your eyes, and you imagine the sound of the boy's voice. Dinner time. You imagine it hard enough that your tail moves. Just once. Because even after all this, you're still hoping. And that, more than anything else, is what hunger really tastes like. It happens quietly. No bolt of lightning. No grand epiphany. Just a moment. A beat. A breath. You wake one morning, if you can call it morning, since sleep has turned into something more like short, reluctant comas, and you stretch out stiff limbs on the porch where you've been dying in slow, polite increments, and you look at the gate. It's open, not swinging, not recently moved, just ajar, a sliver, a suggestion, a mouth with no teeth daring you to walk through. It's unclear when it opened. Maybe yesterday, maybe last week, maybe. It was never closed as tight as you thought. You just assumed it was, because it always had been, because the rules said stay, and you are, or were, a rule-following kind of dog. Sit, stay, don't chew the shoes, guard the house, wait, always wait. But now the rules feel stupid. They feel like something invented by people who couldn't survive more than 24 hours without a refrigerator and a therapist. And you're starting to think that maybe you were never guarding anything at all, just circling the ruins of someone else's story. like a ghost that hadn't figured out how to let go. You stand. You approach the gate. It creaks when you nudge. It opens with your nose, as if even the metal is surprised you finally got the hint. You pause. Not because you're afraid of what's out there. No, that's just instinct humming in your chest. It's not fear. It's the weight of choice, of stepping beyond the last thing tying you to them. Because this yard is the last place they touched. The last place their scent clings to wood and grass and memory. If you leave, you can't come back. Not really. Not as the same dog. But you're not the same dog anymore, are you? So you step through, and the world doesn't notice. No orchestra, no applause. Just a stiff breeze and the vague sound of a leaf blower somewhere in the middle. Distance. You leave the porch behind. The mat, the bowl, the ghost house that forgot your name. You're out, and now you have no plan whatsoever. You sniff. The street stretches in both directions like a riddle. One end smells like garbage day, the other smells like wet pavement and a parked car that's been leaking something for 3 years. You pick the direction that smells like meat, not because you expect food. That kind of optimism died somewhere around week 2. But because your legs move better when they think they have a reason. You pass other houses, each one sealed tight. Each yard a kingdom with invisible walls. Some have dogs behind them. They bark at you with manic energy, the kind you remember having when you thought safety was normal and dinner was inevitable. You don't bark back. You just keep walking. Eventually you reach the gas station. It's busy, not the kind of busy that feels alive. The kind that feels like desperation pretending it's fine. People shuffle in and out, eyes glued to their phones or locked on some invisible finish line. Nobody notices the skinny dog standing by the ice machine. Well, one guy does. He's eating chips, sour cream and onion. You can smell the flavor dust from the curb. You wag your tail. 1, 2, polite flicks. Not begging, just suggesting. He stares at you for a second too long, then tosses a chip in your direction. It lands on the pavement. You look at it like it might bite you. Then you eat it in one bite. He laughs, says, "Damn, you really are starving." Then he gets in his car and drives away. You sit there a while, licking your lips. The chip was stale and probably not meant for animals, but it was food. And for a second, the world felt almost kind. You move on. You follow sidewalks, parking lots, gutters. The leash in your brain, the invisible one, pulls tight sometimes. When you pass a house with a toy in the yard, when you hear a screen door slam, when you see a kid with the same haircut your boy had, even though you know it's not him. You stop at every corner. Because you don't know the rules of crossing anymore. Because no one's there to say, wait. You pass a playground. There's a juice box on the ground. You lap at the sticky mess like it's nectar from the gods. 2 children point at you. Their mother pulls them away. You're not offended anymore. Just tired. Just existing. Eventually, you find a quiet patch of grass behind a billboard that says, "Find your forever home," above a smiling family and a Labrador that looks like it's never known what rain feels like. You lie down in the shadow of their teeth-whitened joy. You close your eyes. And for the first time in weeks, the porch doesn't appear in your mind. Just the road. The endless, quiet road. You've walked farther today than you ever have in your life. When you were still leashed and named and the good boy, your world had a limit. A yard, a car ride, a park where you were allowed to run, but only if your person said so. You never questioned the perimeter. You just stayed inside it and assumed the sky belonged to someone else. Now, the world is perimeterless. Endless concrete, cracks that smell of old coffee and tire oil. You follow the path not because it's familiar, but because it's not. You need the unfamiliar now. You've already memorized every inch of that porch, every echo in that hollow house. You know what it smells like to wait. Now you want to know what it smells like to move on. You pass a row of storefronts, glass windows with reflections you don't recognize. You stop and look. For a moment, you think you see him. The boy. Same hair, same frame. But the reflection moves wrong. His legs are too long, his walk too fast. He's not him, just another stranger. You keep walking. A woman outside a laundromat sees you and makes that noise, that human gasp that means equal parts all and you. She crouches, pulling a crumpled sandwich from her bag. You approach, slow, tail cautious, but hopeful. She tosses you the sandwich, doesn't speak. You eat it. It's wet, soggy. The bread is cold and weirdly sweet, but it's food. You wag. She stands up, wipes her hands like you're something to be shaken off, and goes back inside without a word. You don't hold it against her. Humans say they love dogs, but most only love their dogs. Clean dogs, safe dogs. Dogs who haven't been sleeping under bus stops and licking rain off their own fur for hydration. You're not one of those dogs anymore. You're an it again, but now you understand that it isn't a flaw in you. It's a flaw in them. Later, you find yourself under a bridge. There's another dog there. Old, grey-faced, missing one ear. His coat looks like it's been through more winters than anyone should survive. He watches you from a patch of dirt with one eye open and one paw twitching in his sleep. You approach with care. He doesn't growl. You curl a few feet away, close enough to feel not alone, but far enough to avoid a fight. That's the balance. Now, you sleep beside others like you, but never with them. He wakes. He doesn't speak, but dogs don't need to. You glance. He glances. It's enough. You both know. You both know. You drift off under the bridge with the sound of dripping water and distant sirens. Your dreams are strange. You run through a yard that keeps expanding. Every time you reach the fence, it moves farther away. When you wake, the old dog is gone. No sign, no scent trail, just absence. You've come to expect that from everything lately. You pass a church the next morning, not because you believe in anything, but because someone once told you food sometimes shows up there. It smells like people pretending to be better than they are. There's a woman in a shawl handing out bread to a man in a folding chair who's wearing 4 coats and no socks. You wait. She sees you. She says, "Oh no, honey, you're not allowed in here." You don't try to go in. You just sit outside. She tosses you a piece of crust. You catch it mid-air. Her smile is small, tired. That's the closest thing to kindness you've had in a while. You keep moving. Eventually you reach the edge of the city, or maybe just a different part of it. The building's thin. The grass returns, but it's not the good kind. It's dry, yellowed. The kind that makes your paws itch and your throat worse. You find a ditch that smells vaguely of dead frogs and despair. You crawl inside, and you realize something horrifying. You haven't thought about their voices in hours. You've gone a full day without imagining the car pulling up, or the door swinging open, or the boy crying as he runs to you. That fantasy used to be your favorite chew toy. Always there, always ready. Now it's fading. You lie there in the ditch, legs aching, heart hollow, and you realize something else. You're no longer waiting. Not really. You're just moving. Because instinct doesn't care about abandonment. It only cares about what comes next. You close your eyes and listen. No voices, no names. Just breath and dirt and wind. You are no longer the dog by the door. You are the dog on the road. And you're not going back. Because the gate was open for a reason. And sometimes leaving is the only way to live. The alley isn't a place. It's a system. A broken, twisted, food-stained ecosystem of noise, meat smells, and territorial piss lines. The alley is ruled by no one, but feared by all. A place where every stray's life intersects at least once, usually during a brawl over a chicken wing or a slightly moldy taco shell. You don't choose to enter the alley. You're pulled in, like gravity or guilt. It smells like old grease, wet cardboard, and 1,000 arguments that ended in blood. Dumpsters line the walls like rusted sarcophagi. Half the light bulbs don't work. The ones that do flicker like they're having a moral crisis. This is where you meet TV Dinner. That's not his real name, of course, but that's what everyone calls him. He's got 3 teeth, 1 eye, and a limp that suggests he once lost a fight to a shopping cart. He's also wearing a collar with no tag. Just a melted plastic button that says, "I voted" from 2009. You don't ask questions. He sizes you up immediately. Not with barking, not with growling, with silence. The kind of stare that goes deep, enough to check your ribs for fat content and your eyes for desperation. "You knew?" he finally says. You tilt your head. He nods like that's confirmation. "Come on then," he grunts, turning. You look hungry enough to try the Denny's. Dumpster. You follow, because TV Dinner smells like knowledge, like old meat and old stories. And because right now, anything with a plan is better than wandering until your paws fall off. The other alley dogs don't say much. There's a mutt who might be half coyote, judging by the way she never blinks. There's a pug missing half his ear and all of his faith in humanity. There's a skinny thing named Chalk who only speaks in barks and laughter and once bit a tire just to see what would happen. They accept you, conditionally, meaning if food appears, you share. If cops appear, you scatter. If fleas appear, you blame someone else. This is not a pack. This is a contract, unspoken, temporary, based entirely on the fluctuating availability of dropped fast food and who can. Bark louder when a raccoon tries to cut in. You learn the rules fast. Rule 1. Humans do not mean well, even the ones who smile, especially the ones who talk too soft. Soft talk means cages, vans, shelters where they assess you like broken toasters. If a human offers you something and it doesn't smell like meat, run. Rule 2. Don't sleep in the same place 2 nights in a row. People start to notice. And when people notice, they call people in uniforms who really don't like stray dogs. Rule 3. Never trust a golden retriever. They've seen things. They've done things. And no one stays that happy without hiding a body. You survive this way. You dig through trash. You learn which dumpsters belong to which restaurants and when they dump the good stuff. You learn that sushi is a mistake, but old hot dogs are practically gourmet. You dodge shoes, shopping carts, bikes, toddlers. You avoid eye contact with indoor dogs behind fences who bark like they want to fight, but wouldn't last 5 minutes without their air conditioning. You stop flinching when people yell. You stop hoping when cars slow down. You stop dreaming about porches. TV Dinner tells you about the highway ghosts. You ever hear 'em? He asks. One night, licking the sauce off a discarded nugget box, out past the turnpike, where the concrete buzzes and the air smells like burnt rubber and dead things. You've passed the highway. You know the buzz he means. They ain't dogs, he says. They used to be, but now they're nothing. Just bones wrapped in fur. Keep walking even when there's nowhere left to go. You nod, because you feel it too, that creeping thing, that instinct rot, like your soul's trying to evacuate before your body catches up. TV Dinner chuckles. You'll meet 'em if you go far enough, but you won't wanna. Trust me. The alley gets colder that night. You sleep beside a pizza box and a broken tricycle. A cat screams 2 blocks over. Somewhere a siren wails like it's crying for you. You twitch in your sleep, paws jerking, chasing a dream that ends with a closed door and no one on the other side. This is your new life. You are not a pet, not a guard, not a friend. You are a moving stomach wrapped in fur, a name no one says anymore, a tail no one wags back at, but you're still breathing. And as TV Dinner says, breathing's half the job. The other half is not stopping. The fight wasn't over food. That's the part that keeps replaying in your head. Not the growling, not the blood, not the moment your teeth slipped and pain lit up your jaw like fireworks in a thunderstorm. No. It's that it wasn't even about something worth fighting for. It was over a puddle, just a shallow, oily patch of water that reflected the flickering street lamp above. You were drinking from it, Slowly, carefully, ears perked for the sound of approaching threats when the other dog showed up. He didn't bark, didn't growl, just stood behind you, his breath loud and wet, like he'd swallowed a wheeze and couldn't get rid of it. You turned, tail low, stance neutral. You weren't challenging him. You weren't looking for a scrap. But he saw weakness, and weakness is currency here. So he lunged. You don't remember everything, just flashes. Teeth on fur, pain in your shoulder, the awful taste of ear in your mouth, the sound your own body makes when it hits pavement too hard. You didn't win, but you didn't lose either. You survived. TV Dinner found you afterward, curled beside a half-deflated soccer ball behind a pile of crates. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't offer comfort. He just dropped half a sandwich by your paw and said, "You'll want to clean that cut before the flies do." You licked your shoulder. It stung. You winced. You licked again. The sandwich was stale, crust first, and tasted like guilt. You ate every crumb. No one came to check on you. That's not how it works out here. The alley doesn't have medics. It doesn't hand out sympathy. It just watches to see if you'll get back up. You did. The limp stayed for days, maybe forever. Something inside your back leg clicks now when you move. But you're still walking, still scavenging, still snarling, when needed, and that, apparently, is enough. One of the younger dogs, Chalk, the half-mad one who barks at birds and shadows, saw your bruises and said, "You look like you lost a bet with gravity." You didn't laugh, because he wasn't wrong at it. Some point you realized you were changing. Not just your body, that's obvious. You're leaner now, sharper, tougher in all the ways that matter, and none of the ways you wanted. No, the real change is in your instincts. You don't flinch when people yell anymore. You don't cower when car doors slam. You don't wait, and that's new. Once upon a time, your entire purpose revolved around patience. Sit, stay, wait. Now your instincts whisper, move first, ask later, bite if necessary. It scares you how natural it's becoming. You used to think violence was something bad dogs did. Dogs who hadn't been trained, dogs who were broken. But now you understand, violence isn't always evil. Sometimes it's the only language survival understands. TV. Dinner confirms it with his usual wisdom. You can love humans all you want, kid. But the moment you're inconvenient, they'll drop you faster than a hot leash. Out here, at least the bite makes sense. You nod. Because the lie you used to live in, the one with collars and tennis balls and birthday treats, it's gone now. And honestly, it probably never made much sense to begin with. You sleep that night in an abandoned delivery van. It smells like bread and mildew and long-forgotten disappointment, but it's dry, it's quiet, and the back seat is just soft enough to make your bones believe in rest again. You dream of the boy, not the porch, not the house, just him. He's older now somehow, taller, his face fuzzy at the edges. He calls your name, your real name, and you run to him. But no matter how fast you go, the space between you stretches, and the air thickens, and the street goes on forever. You wake up growling, because dreams aren't kind anymore. The next morning, someone leaves out a bowl. It's plastic. Blue. Clean. Inside, kibble. Real kibble. You stare at it like it's a trap, because it probably is. It's sitting outside a side door behind a building with a hand-painted sign that says, "Barkin' beans, coffee and dog treats." Cute. You wait. 20 minutes. 30. No one comes out. You approach, you sniff, you eat, and it's good. Really good. Crunchy. Real. Probably chicken. Your tail wags without permission. Your body remembers what it's like to be fed by a hand, even when no hand is there. You don't stay. You don't trust it, but you remember it. That bowl, that moment, that maybe. It reminds you that survival doesn't always have to taste like mold and shame. Sometimes, just sometimes, it tastes like kibble, in a clean bowl, set out by someone who might still see you as more than just a mouth with teeth. His name is TV Dinner, and he swears he knows where the food is. You stick with me, he says, tail twitching, with the crooked confidence of someone who's been hit by more than one car and lived to insult it. I got a system, routines, a route, like those mailmen, but cooler. And with mange, you follow. Because what else are you going to do? You've been sleeping in parking lots and drinking from mud puddles that taste like gasoline and irony. Your ribs are a permanent part of your silhouette. Your tail has forgotten how to wag properly, and your eyes have started skipping over anything that looks like a child. Because hope is more dangerous than hunger. TV dinner moves like an old conspiracy theory, slow, hard to follow, and somehow still convincing. This way, he says, weaving between dumpsters. The pizza place throws out the good crusts on Tuesday. And old woman at the corner deli, soft for sad eyes. Just don't let her see the fleas. Pretend you're classy. You nod solemnly, trying not to limp. The alley narrows. It opens into a courtyard the size of a single regret. 4 other dogs are already there, huddled around a tipped-over trash barrel like it's a sacred flame. TV dinner grins, tongue lolling. Boys, he announces. Meet the new recruit. Doesn't bark much. Good posture. Walks like trauma in a fur coat. You lower your head. Not submissive, just tired. The others sniff you. Not friendly, not hostile, just checking. One mutt with a bent tail circles you twice and sneezes on your flank. Another, a little wiry terrier, missing one eye and probably some screws, says, "Name?" You don't answer, because you're not sure you have one anymore. The boy used to shout something, a name that felt like a hug, but it's been too long, and too many nights have scraped your brain clean. All you know now is instinct, pavement, and the click in your back leg when the weather turns cold. Doesn't matter. TV dinner shrugs. Call him maybe. Maybe, because maybe you're staying. Maybe you'll survive. Maybe you won't bite anyone tonight. The dogs accept it. Or at least, they stop looking at you like meat with opinions. You share a burger bun someone found in a crushed paper sack. You chew slowly, savoring the blend of mustard, sadness, and something faintly resembling meat. It's the best meal you've had in days. Someone makes a joke about golden retrievers being cops. Everyone laughs, even you. It surprises you, that sound, that sudden noise that isn't a growl or a whimper, just air and teeth and something that used to be joy, and for a brief, stupid moment, you feel almost included. This is what a pack looks like now. Not wolves howling under full moons, not perfectly groomed Labrador families with matching bandanas, just mutts and scraps and the soft, unspoken agreement that we won't eat each other today. It's enough. Later, as the sun begins to disappear, behind a skyline that's never done you any favors, one of the dogs, a pit mix named Hazard, who only has half a tongue but twice the attitude, says, "You've been out long?" You pause. You think, and you say, not with words, but with your eyes and your posture and the tilt of your ears. "Long enough." Hazard nods. No more questions. That's another rule of the pack. We don't ask about before. Before is private, sacred, broken glass buried under fresh dirt. If someone wants to tell you their before, they will. Probably drunk, probably while bleeding. Otherwise, you don't dig there. The sky grows darker. The group huddles beside a warm vent behind a Chinese takeout place. The air smells like soy sauce and scorched meat, which beats wet concrete and flea spray any day. You settle next to TV dinner. He doesn't speak. He just sighs. And that's how you know you've been accepted. Not because anyone declared it, because no one told you to leave. The pack isn't family. Let's be clear about that. There are no bedtime, cuddles, no playful chases around bushes, no or moments under a full moon where someone licks your ear and says you're special. No, the pack is a ceasefire, a mutual understanding that today we help each other survive, and tomorrow, well, tomorrow is someone else's problem. You learn that fast. Your first night curled beside the takeout vent is quiet, not peaceful, just Uneventful, which is as close as you're going to get. You don't sleep much. You listen. You twitch. You track every footstep, every hiss, every car door in the distance. Trust is not part of this system, only proximity. You wake before the sun. No one moves. TV dinner snores like a dying accordion. Hazard twitches in his sleep and kicks an empty sauce packet. The terrier with one eye is gnawing on a stick in his dreams, jaw snapping at nothing. You slip away, not to leave, just to move. Your legs still believe in patrols. You circle the block, sniffing. The ground is wet from something, rain, sprinkler, some unfortunate child's bladder. The scent of cat piss is stronger than usual, which means one of the alley gangs passed through during the night. Cats don't. Run in packs. They run in cults. You don't mess with them. You return just in time to see Chalk, the wiry, half-mad mutt with the personality of a live wire, dragging a crumpled paper bag like he's discovered fire. "Victory!" he shouts. You all gather. Inside the bag, a half muffin, a slice of bacon, and a fork still coated in gravy. Chalk dumps it onto the pavement, like a gambler throwing down a royal flush. Silence, then chaos. No barking, no growling, just mouths and legs, and the unspoken agreement that whoever bites you gets bitten back. It's not a fight exactly, more of a frantic ballet of shoves and snaps. You don't get the bacon, you get the fork. You lick it like it's gold-plated TV dinner. Choose the muffin like it's a sandwich made of pure nostalgia. Tastes like Tuesdays and alimony, he says. Hazard burps and mutters something about needs salt. You lick the fork until there's nothing left but your own reflection in the metal. That's breakfast. By mid-morning, the pack spreads out. Some disappear into dumpsters. Some loiter behind delis. You follow TV Dinner, who says he knows a guy who owes me something, which, given the context, probably means a haggard chihuahua named Meatloaf, who once sniffed his butt for 3 uninterrupted minutes. Throughout, takes you past the shelter. You freeze when you see it. The clean building with its bright sign and its lie of a slogan. Every dog deserves a second chance. You remember cages. You remember the smell of bleach and despair. You remember barking. Constant, desperate barking. The kind that isn't language, just noise trying to drown out loneliness. TV Dinner spits on the sidewalk. Don't look at it too long. They'll see you staring and decide you're interested. You avert your eyes. Someone walks out the front door holding a leash and a puppy that looks like it was assembled in a lab to make children squeal with joy. Clean fur, bright collar, tail like a metronome. You catch your reflection in the shelters. Window. You look like a ghost, a badly groomed, limping ghost that smells like last week's laundry. You move on. That afternoon, you find a dead bird, not freshly dead. Rigor mortis has come and gone, and something, maybe time, maybe flies, has hollowed it out. Hazard inspects it with interest. You eat in that, he asks. You shake your head. Cool, he says, and devours it like it owes him money. You walk away. You're not above roadkill, not anymore, but you draw the line at food with visible bones and maggots. That's where you still pretend you have standards. By sunset, the pack reconvenes. Same alley, same wall, same vent blowing out the scent of food you'll never be allowed inside to touch. Chalk is bleeding, a scratch along his side, probably a raccoon, possibly a fence. He doesn't complain, he just licks it, winces and mutters, "Dumb luck's just luck with less charm." You lie beside him, close enough to feel his breathing, far enough not to be blamed if he doesn't wake up. That's the rule. You can be close, but not connected. Connection gets you soft, and soft dogs don't survive. You close your eyes and think about the word maybe. Maybe they're still looking for you. Maybe they miss you. Maybe they drive around sometimes with the windows down, calling your name into the dark. Maybe. But the longer you lie here, the more you realize. The pack is your only maybe now. Not a home, not a future. Just a collective decision to keep waking up. And when you're astray, that's more than most ever get. You don't remember falling asleep, but you remember waking up. The world smelled different. Not bad. Just off. Wrong. Too clean. Too still. And then the rope. It looped around your neck like a memory. Soft and slow and practiced. You didn't fight it. That's the worst part. You didn't bark, didn't flinch, didn't even growl. You just looked up at the woman holding the rope and thought, she smells like soap. She must be safe. She spoke to you in that voice. You know, the one. The "oh honey, it's okay, we're gonna get you some help" voice. It always starts kind. They always start kind. You wagged your tail. Just once. Because it's been too long since anyone touched you without fear in their eyes. Too long since a hand met your fur without recoiling. And for a second, a brief, idiotic second, you thought maybe this was your rescue story. Maybe this was the twist. You even let her lift you into the van. It smelled like peanut butter and bleach. The cage in the back rattled as you were pushed in, and the door latched shut with a sound you've never forgotten. Not because it was loud, but because it was final. She didn't say your name. Not because she didn't know it, but because you don't have one anymore. You rode in silence. No music, no windows, just metal and your own breathing, loud in your ears. The floor was lined with newspapers like you were something that might leak. One had a photo of a smiling family holding a golden retriever like a prize ham. You lay on their faces. The van slowed, stopped, and the doors opened to hell, dressed like help. The shelter. You didn't bark. You didn't whimper. You walked on, the leash, like the good boy you used to be. Because maybe, if you behaved well enough, someone would see it. Someone would see the goodness underneath the dirt and the limping and the visible ribs. Someone would say, "Oh, he's worth saving." The woman handed you off. New hands, sterile hands, voices like clipboards. He's in rough shape. Probably been out a while. No tag, no chip. Classic stray case. You were given a number, not even a name. Just a number. Written on a folder like it was your entire biography. They took you into the back. The room smelled like every bad memory you've ever had. Sharp cleaning chemicals, wet fur, urine, fear. It clung to your nostrils like a second skin. You were washed. Not gently. Not cruelly either. Just indifferently. As if you were a car being prepped for auction. Then came the kennel. Metal bars. Plastic floor. Water bowl bolted to the wall. A blanket that smelled like 200 other dogs who all left the same way. Silent or screaming. The door clanged shut. That sound again. Final. You sat there, listened, barking, barking, barking. Endless, frantic barking. You didn't join. You just lay down and stared at the wall like maybe it would open into a porch that smelled like toast and shampoo and your boy's shoes. It didn't. A volunteer came by, young, nervous, reeked of guilt and lavender. Lotion. She crouched beside your cage and smiled. "Hi, buddy," she whispered. You didn't move. She read your chart. No name. "Oh, that's okay. We'll find you one." You wanted to tell her you had one, that you still have one. It's just buried now, somewhere under the porch, or in the back seat of a car that never came back, or inside the mouth of a boy who forgot how to say it. You watched her go. That was day one. Day two begins with barking. It never stopped, really. It just changes in pitch, in volume, in species. 100 dogs screaming variations of the same thing. "Help me! Feed me! Let me out! Please don't forget I exist." Some of them bark because they still believe it will work. Some bark out of habit. Some, and this is the worst, don't bark at all anymore. You're one of the quiet ones, not because you're calm, but because you've seen this play out before. You saw it once, long ago. That one time your humans took you here just to check, when your neighbour's terrier had that little cough, and someone panicked and called animal control. It was loud then too, but you got to leave. This time, no one's coming. A hand appears at your cage. plastic gloved. It drops food into the tray. Kibble. Real kibble. You eat it. Automatically, mechanically. It doesn't taste like anything. Not even gratitude. Just texture. Crunch. Energy your body needs, so your tail can still twitch when the girl with the clipboard walks by and pretends not to notice how sad your eyes are. You get water too. Clean, cold, and a blanket that smells like bleach and resignation. Luxury. Your kennel is in the back, far from the entrance, far from the adopt me area where the younger, shinier, better-shaped dogs are kept. You hear them barking in a different tone. High-pitched, hopeful, performative. The humans love those barks. They sound like joy. You sound like trauma. That makes you harder to market. The volunteer comes again. The young one with the sad voice. She crouches. Doesn't speak at first, just looks. You wag once, not enough to be enthusiastic. Just enough to say, I'm still trying. She writes something on a clipboard. You don't know what. You don't want to know. Later, someone takes you outside. Not far, just to the concrete pen where the air smells slightly less like heartbreak. It's walled in by chain link fence and optimism. They say it's yard time, like you're a prisoner getting sunlight before the sentence carries out. You walk the perimeter, sniff things that don't matter, pee on a post already peed on by, 20 other broken things. The sun touches your back and your bones creak like tired furniture. You remember what grass felt like. You remember rolling in it. You don't do that here. There's no room for play. Not anymore. Another dog joins you. Big. Friendly in theory. Tries to sniff you a little too enthusiastically. You freeze. He backs off. Mutual agreement reached. We're both too tired for politics. You lie down by the gate. Pretend it opens for you. It doesn't. They bring you back in. More barking. More footsteps. Somewhere, a phone rings. A door slams. A human laughs. You sit in your kennel and try to remember your boy's face. It's harder now. You remember the shape of his backpack, the sound of his footsteps. But the face, it's smudged. Was he missing a tooth? Did he have freckles? What color were his eyes? You don't know anymore. You feel something in your chest. A tightness. A whimper building in your ribs. But you don't make a sound. You curl up instead. Smaller. Tighter. Like if you get small enough, maybe you'll disappear. Day 3 brings a new smell. Something sour. Something sick. You recognize it. It's the vet room. They don't tell you where they're taking you. They just open the cage, leash you, walk you down a hallway lined with things that bark and things that have stopped barking. The walls here have no decorations, just the click of claws on tile and the occasional yelp through a closed door. The vet is gentle. That's the worst part. She has soft hands, a soft voice. She says, "This won't hurt, sweetheart." And it doesn't. Not right away. She checks your teeth, your ears, your heart. She frowns. Not at you, at the chart. Older than we thought, she says. Limp's permanent. No chip. The other human, the one with the tablet, shakes his head. Nothing. Not neutered either. No ID. The vet sighs. You watch them like a child watches the storm outside a window. And then she says the words. Put him on the list. That list. You don't know what it's called exactly, but you've smelled it. Felt it. The hallway with no return. The room that smells like rubbing alcohol and finality. They don't do it today, but you've been catalogued, sorted, filed under. Too much trouble. Back in your cage, the barking sounds different. Not louder, not quieter. Just irrelevant. You lie down. You sleep. You wake. You pace. You don't know what day it is anymore. Eventually, the girl with the sad voice comes again. This time, she opens the cage. No idea why, she says to no one. But I talked them into it. You're going to a rescue out of state. They'll give you another chance. She scratches your ear. You lean into it like it's the first real thing you felt in years. She puts a leash on you, again. And for reasons you'll never understand, this time, you walk with her. They don't say, we're giving you another chance. They say, you're getting transferred, and you've heard that before, in every form it comes in. We're relocating him. He's being evaluated. We're moving him to a partner shelter. The humans say it like it's mercy, like it's hope. But you've been alive long enough to know that when people stop using names and start using verbs, you're already halfway to being forgotten. They come with clipboards. Always with clipboards. Woman with a lanyard and a voice like she once read a children's book on TV looks at your chart, squints at you, and says something like, "He looks rough, but he might clean up well." And just like that, your fate is back on the bargaining table. You're not dying today. Congratulations. You're getting shipped. They move you out of your usual cage. Not to a home, not to a place with blankets and bowls and a boy with open arms. No, to a smaller cage in a hallway that smells like printer ink and deadlines. This is where the transport dogs go. Not dogs with families, dogs with potential, dogs with maybe. Someone hoses out the crate before you go in. They scrub it with lemon-scented bleach, like disinfecting the metal makes the screaming inside any cleaner. Then they slide you in like luggage. You don't resist. Not because you're calm, because resistance doesn't work in places like this. You lie there, quiet, tail tucked. You hear the other dogs. Some bark like this is their big break. Some whimper like they already know how this ends. One is panting loudly, fast, sharp. The panic of an animal that's been rescued 5 times and returned 6. You wait. After a while, the van arrives. White, plain. A logo slapped on the side in paw prints and pastel font. Paws across America, finding forever, 1 mile at a time. It looks like something a child would trust. It smells like urine Lysol, and the kind of hope that expires by the mile. They load you in with a dozen others. Each crate clicks shut like a coffin lid, fastened by hands that are practiced, bored, and slightly late for lunch. You're number 46 on the manifest. They write it on your paperwork. You watch them do it, not your name. A number, because that's what you are now. A shuffled statistic, a cargo item, something to be driven across a state line and dropped at the next building with a roof and too few volunteers. You lie in your crate and listen to the road hum. The tires grind. The engine drones. The air is too cold from the back AC vent. Your nose is dry. You shift once, then again, then stop moving because there's no point. You're already in the safest shape they want you in. Still, silent, and inconvenient only on paper. Hours pass. You try to sleep, but the barking never really stops. It just changes, grows distant, comes back again. One dog cries like a baby. One pukes in his crate and starts trying to eat it. Another chews the metal grate like maybe freedom is hidden inside the screws. Eventually, the van stops. You don't know where you are. You don't know what time it is. You don't even know if this is the same state anymore. All you know is that the back doors swing open and you smell air, fresh air, and something else. Grass, dirt, tree sap. You lift your head. One of the transport volunteers climbs in, opens a few crates, checks water bowls, mutters to himself about making good time and whether his wife fed the cat. He opens yours to check the bowl and forgets to relatch the door. It's small. One oversight. One stupid human mistake in a long chain of clipboard routines and digital checkboxes. And it's the best thing that's happened to you in months. You wait. You wait like you used to wait for go get it after stay. Then you move. Slow at first, quiet, careful. You nose the door. It swings open. He doesn't notice. You step out. The van smells like cages and ghosts. The outside smells like life And then you run. Not because you have a plan, not because you know where you're going, but because you know one thing with perfect clarity. You are not getting back in that van. Not ever, the man yells. You hear the sound of crates rattling, someone stumbling, a leash dragging on gravel. But you're already gone over the grass, around the dumpster, between two cars. Past a woman who drops her coffee and screams, "Oh my God, was that a coyote?" You don't look back, you just run. Because some chances come dressed like cages, and others come dressed like an open gate. And this one is yours. There's a kind of speed you didn't know your legs remembered. A speed you haven't used since you were young. The kind you saved for tennis balls and open fields and chasing that squirrel who never played. Fair, that speed's back now, but it's not for joy. It's not even for fear. It's for escape, pure and holy. You run like the leash is still chasing you, like the van still has its doors open, like the needle is already filled and looking for a vein. The landscape blurs. Fences, trees, gas pumps, a man yelling something, a kid pointing, a bird taking off in panic. You're a streak of ribs and dirt and desperation. You don't stop until your lungs burn and your back leg threatens mutiny. You collapse behind a half-fallen billboard covered in graffiti and peeling stickers. One of them says, "Adopt, don't shop," and the irony nearly knocks you out. The world slows. The wind is sharp but clean. The sun is high and angry. You pant like a busted engine. Your tongue tastes like old metal and dried adrenaline. You listen. No voices. No sirens. No shouting volunteers sprinting after you with guilt and dog biscuits. You made it. You are out. You are free. Now what? The high of running wears off fast. Because there's something they don't tell you about freedom. Especially the kind that comes from breaking out instead of being let go. You still have nowhere to go. Freedom, it turns out, is just the space between cages. You get up, you walk, no destination, just away. Always away. You pass more gas stations, a construction site, an old train track that smells like rust and regret. You drink from a broken hose leaking into a ditch. You lie in a patch of gravel because the shade under the billboard is the closest thing to a home you have. You sleep for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. You wake up shivering. It's not cold. You're just scared. Not of people. Not anymore. You know what they can do. You've been chipped, dipped, tagged, ignored, cleaned, catalogued, and almost euthanized by people who said you were rescued. No, you're scared of being forgotten again, because now you're a dog with no porch, no pack, and no number. Just 4 shaky legs, and a story that smells like bleach and broken things. You limp to your feet and keep going. Around midday, you find a little park on the edge of a quiet suburb. It's clean, unnaturally clean. The kind of place where no one throws out food unless it's double-bagged and locked in a bin with 2 padlocks and a guilt complex. You spot a woman sitting on a bench. She's eating a sandwich. You approach slowly, head low, ears soft. You don't bark, you don't beg. You just look at her like you used to look at your boy. Like maybe kindness is contagious and she's still infected. She sees you. You wag once. She freezes. Then she frowns. Shoo. She tosses a piece of lettuce in your direction like that. Counts as generosity. It misses your nose by 3 feet. You sniff it anyway, then walk away. The worst part? You're not even angry. You've stopped expecting anything from humans except confusion and paperwork. Back to the street. You pass a fence where a golden retriever barks at you from behind flower pots and a water fountain shaped like a frog. He's beautiful, fat, groomed, wearing a collar that cost more than your entire rescue van. He barks like he's warning you, off his turf. You look at him and think, you couldn't survive one night out here, you designer meatloaf. You don't bark back. You don't have time for debates with someone who's never tasted rainwater from a pothole or chewed on a receipt. For calories, you walk until your legs say no more. You find an abandoned bus stop, metal bench, cracked plastic roof. smells like piss and gum and yesterday's heat. You curl up, you breathe. That's the only job now. Breathing. Breathing and not going back. Because you know what waits back there. Cages, white lights, polite voices, and that hallway that doesn't echo when they carry a body through it. So you run. Even when you stop, you're still running. From the van, from the needle, from the last bowl of kibble with someone else's pity written all over it. You sleep. You twitch. You dream of fences. But you're on the other side this time. Not the inside. The outside. And when you wake up, you keep going. Because freedom is ugly. But at least it's yours. You knew it was coming. You could smell it in the air weeks ago. That clean, sterile kind of cold that doesn't announce itself with storms or drama. Just one morning, the sky turns the color of old dishwater, and the wind starts testing your fur for weaknesses. Then the ground stops being soft, then your paws start cracking. Then you stop sleeping so much as shutting down in small freezing intervals. Because this is no longer the world of hunger or fear. This is the world of cold. Real, bone-splitting cold that doesn't care about your tragic backstory or how many times you tried to be a good boy. And it happens fast. One day, the puddles are slush. The next, they're glass. Trash freezes shut. Meat turns into weapons. Even the smell of food goes brittle. You'd cry, but your tear ducts are frozen. So instead, you shiver. You try to find the old places, the warm spots, the hidden nooks beneath, vents or beside pipes that once hissed heat like tired dragons. But the vents are blocked now. The pipes stopped breathing. Everything's dying for winter, and you're just another thing on the list. You curl behind a grocery store dumpster because the wall shields one side of your body from the wind. You tuck your nose under your tail like instinct says. But instinct was built for wolves, not for mutts with thinning fur, a permanent limp, and half a sandwich's worth of calories left in your system. The cold becomes a second skin, one you can't scratch off, one that hums in your ears like a warning. On the second day of snow, you watch a bird freeze to death, mid-peck, just stopped moving. Like Winter said, that's enough from you. You don't bark, you don't run, you just stare. The world is too quiet now, like everything's holding its breath. You still try to find food. A man drops a McDonald's bag near a gas station. You bolt for it. So do 3 other dogs. All bigger, faster, louder. You get a fry. A single, cold, limp fry, soaked in soda. And regret. You swallow it whole. You don't even taste it. But it reminds your stomach that pain is part of being alive. So, progress? Later that night, your paws split open. The cracks in your pads tear wider with every step. Every icy sidewalk, every pointless loop around a city block. You've walked 100 times, hoping it will be different this time. It never is. You start walking funny, lopsided, like your legs are arguing about whether survival is still worth the effort. You lie down beside a bus bench. A woman sits 2 feet above you, talking loudly into a rectangle. She says things like, "I just feel like people expect too much from me." And, "Ugh, I forgot to Venmo her back." And hold on, there's this gross dog here. You don't even lift your head when she kicks in your direction. She misses. Of course she does. Her aim is about as good as her empathy. Eventually she leaves. You stay. And then something strange happens. An old woman walks up, alone. No phone, no pretense. She sees you, actually sees you. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't gasp. She doesn't call anyone or shout shoo, like you're a raccoon trying to unionize. She just crouches, slowly, carefully, like her knees don't trust her anymore. And from inside her coat, she pulls out a plastic bag. "Day-old bread," she mutters. "Still good." She breaks a chunk off and tosses it gently, not at you, but just close. You sniff it, then you eat it. Frozen bread, stale, cold, chewy, beautiful. You lick your lips and look at her. She offers another piece and water from a thermos cap poured by shaking hands. It tastes like rust and heaven. She watches you. You watch her. No words. Just two things left outside in the cold too long. You got a name? She asks. You don't answer. Not because you don't want to, but because you forgot how. She sighs, wipes her nose with a mitten that's seen better decades, and says, "Don't stay out here too long, baby. You'll freeze." Then she stands, creaking like old stairs, and walks away. She doesn't look back. You don't follow. But for the first time in days, you feel something close to warm. Not in your paws, not in your stomach. Somewhere deeper, somewhere colder. The wind howls again. The snow falls, but you curl up tighter, and you survive one more night. Because someone gave you a name, even if they didn't say it. And that name was still alive. The storm doesn't announce itself. It just thickens. The wind goes from knife to hammer. The snow from nuisance to eraser. It erases everything. The smell of food, the memory of warmth, the concept of direction. You stop seeing the world in colors. It's all shades of concrete and surrender now. You wake under a dumpster you don't remember crawling beneath. Your paws are curled under your stomach to preserve heat. Your body's tight, too tight. Muscles locked into the shape of something trying not to die politely. Your breath comes out in slow, labored clouds. You lick your lips. They crack. Blood joins the snow in small dots like punctuation marks. You try to move. Everything resists. Every limb says, "No, not today. Let's just lie down one more hour. Maybe two. Maybe forever." But you do move, because some part of you, the part buried beneath the starving and the frostbite and the months of rejection, still thinks there's something worth walking toward. Maybe a door. Maybe a porch. Maybe the boy, standing there in mittens, saying your name like it never stopped being yours. You stumble onto the sidewalk. The world is almost gone. No cars, no people, no other dogs. The sky hangs low and heavy, like the roof of a collapsing memory. You wander through it, half conscious, half hollow, guided only by scentless instinct and the kind of hope you can't explain to anyone with a heater. Then, a miracle. A door, not open, but ajar. A light on inside. The warm gold kind you remember from before. A porch with real stairs. And beside it, a blanket. Old. Stiff. Smells like cat and mothballs. But still a blanket. You don't check for traps. You don't sniff for humans. You just crawl under it like a sinner crawling back into church. It's barely enough to cover your back legs, but your chest sighs when the fabric hits it. You're not warm, but you're not dying quite as fast. You fall asleep, and you dream. But this isn't a normal dream. This one's clean. That's how. You know something's wrong. You're in your yard, the old yard, the green one, the summer one. Your boy is there. He's calling your name, your actual name. You hear it clear as day. Not stray, not poor thing, not shoe. Your name. And you remember it. You run to him. Your tail wags. Your legs don't limp. You don't feel hungry or cold or afraid. You feel good. You leap into his arms. He laughs. Says, "I missed you." And his breath doesn't smell like sadness or memory. It smells like peanut butter and trust. And you believe, for one perfect second, that you made it. That this is what dying gives you. A final moment of peace, made out of old dreams and better weather. But then something shifts. The dream flickers. The yard starts changing. The grass gets patchy. The sky darkens. Your boy looks older, and then he walks away. You try to follow, but your legs don't. Move. The porch behind you collapses. The blanket turns to snow. And you realize, this isn't heaven. It's memory collapsing under the weight of cold. You wake with a start. The blanket is soaked. The snow is coming sideways. Your fur is wet. Your paws are numb. You are still here. Still alive. Still suffering. And that's when the rage hits. Not the loud kind. Not barking, snarling rage. No, this is deeper. The quiet fury, of something that has waited too long for the world to make sense and finally decides it never will. You stand. It hurts, but you stand. Because winter will not win today. Not yet. You limp away from the porch. The lights are off now. No one ever came to the door. But you take the blanket in your mouth anyway. You drag it with you, down the block, toward the alley that smells like shelter and rot, and maybe, if you're lucky, something you can eat without bleeding. You stop once, by a storm drain. You look up. Snowflakes hit your face like ash. You wonder if anyone ever said your name again, if the boy still remembers, if he thinks you died long ago, quietly, under a tree. Maybe he cried. Maybe he didn't. Either way, you forgive him, because dogs are idiots that way. You crawl into a crate someone left behind a shuttered laundromat, covered in a tarp. Just enough to block the wind. You stuff the blanket inside. You curl around it. You sleep like something barely winning. And winter sighs. It'll try again tomorrow. But for now, you are still breathing. It starts like everything else does now, with a smell. Not food, not garbage, not blood or rust or piss or the usual rotating menu of survival. No, this one is clean, warm, stupid, familiar. You freeze mid-step, one paw lifted in slush, and your body forgets to shiver. Because you know that scent. Because you'd know it anywhere. Because no matter how far gone your name is, your nose remembers. Vanilla lotion, laundry detergent with too many syllables, dust, dog hair, toast, and something that used to be love, now aged into something quieter. Your legs move on their own, not limping now, not cautious, just forward, and then faster. Your heart thuds against your ribs like it's trying to say a name you've forgotten how to hear. You turn corners you recognize in your bones. That street sign with the chipped corner. That tree with the deep scratch, where you once leapt too high after a squirrel. That weird plastic flamingo in the front yard of the lady who always smelled like sadness and canned meat. They're all here. You're here. You don't dare believe it at first. The world doesn't give you things like this anymore. But then, the mailbox. Black, tilted. The little red flag always broken. Your humans never fixed it because, what's the point? We check it every day anyway. And beside it, the house. Your house, not a memory, not a mirage. Real. Peeling paint, cracked step, welcome mat half curled like it always was. Your porch, your door, your whole universe, framed in crooked siding and porch lights that never quite worked right. You step onto the grass and nearly slip. On ice, but you don't care. Your tail rises, not wagging fast, not hopeful exactly, but alert. Remembering, you approach slowly, reverently. You're not the same animal who left this porch, but this porch is the same, and that's enough. You reach the stairs. 1, 2, 3. Your claws scrape like they used to. You used to leap up them. You used to bounce. Now you climb like every memory is stored in your spine and weighs more than your whole body. At the top, the door. Closed. But behind it, them. You wag. You sit. You wait. Like the good dog you were. Like the idiot you still are. You don't bark. You don't scratch. You don't make a sound. Because part of you believes the door will open on its own. That the boy will throw it wide with mittened hands and cry out your name, your real name, and fall to his knees and say, I knew it. I knew you'd come back. The door opens, but it's not him. It's a dog, not you. Young Fluffy. Clean. Collar like jewelry, eyes like privilege. He barks once, shrill, possessive, authority without experience. You don't respond, you just stand. Then, her, the woman, older now, grey in the places where you remember brown. She looks over the dog's shoulder, right at you, and nothing. No gasp, no name, no whisper of, Could it be? Just that look people give the lost and broken. The, I don't want this to become my problem look. She calls out to the dog. Not to you. Get inside, Cooper. Cooper. Of course. The door starts to close. Then she pauses. You better go, okay? Shoo. It's too cold out here for you. And then it shuts. That's it. No reunion, no sobbing, no slow motion music and embrace. Just the sound of a lock clicking into place. And silence. You stand there longer than you should. You don't wag. You don't cry. You don't even shake. You just feel it. That final break. That last thread snapping. You turn, walk down the steps, slower than you came. You pause by the porch post. You used to sit there on rainy days. You used to press your head against it, waiting for footsteps. You press your head there one last time, then you lift your leg and mark the corner. A last stupid gesture of ownership. Then you walk. Not away. Off, like a switch being flipped. You don't look back, because there's nothing back there worth seeing. The porch is someone else's now. The door is someone else's. The warmth? It's rented. And your name? It's not welcome here. You don't remember how far you walk. Your legs keep moving because they were built for that. For momentum, for obedience. But your brain has already gone quiet. No commands, no instincts. Just white noise where your thoughts should be. The snow falls again. Gentler now, like the sky is ashamed of itself. You pass houses that don't matter. One has wind chimes. Another has a statue of a frog holding a lantern. None have your scent. None. Feel like anything. You move through it all like a ghost that forgot what it was haunting. The porch is still in your mouth. The way it smelled. The sound your claws used to make on the steps. The familiar give of the wood when you jumped against the doorframe, hoping they'd come out and yell, "Down! Down!" but laughing while they did it. It's all still there, but it's not yours anymore. That house has a new dog. One who didn't wait. One who didn't starve. One who came with a tag and clean fur. And a heart that hasn't learned what it means to hope too long. You don't hate him, you don't blame her, but you do blame yourself. Just a little. Because you waited, you believed. You stuck it out through cold and injury and hunger and silence because you thought that kind of loyalty meant something. You thought being a good dog was a promise, not a gamble. But turns out, being a good dog only matters when someone's watching. You limp through another block, then two. You stop to drink from a gutter, where the snow has melted into a shallow stream of ice water and leaves. It burns going down. You cough. You try again. You drink it anyway, because the body wants to live even after the soul has stopped. Applying for the job. A car passes, you don't look up. You don't expect anything anymore. At some point, a girl spots you from her bedroom window. She presses her face against the glass. Her breath fogs the pain. You see her mouth move, you don't hear it. She doesn't open the door. She doesn't come outside. No one does. Eventually the clouds break. A little light. A little colour. The sun tries to reach you, but it's too late for warmth and too early for hope. You find a bus stop. Not the same one. Another. Different bench. Different city, maybe. It doesn't matter. You crawl underneath. You curl into yourself like a question with no answer. And you sleep. Not because you're tired, because there's nothing else left to do. You dream. You dream that the boy is older now, that he walks into a room and pauses, that he sees a photograph of you, one from years ago, before the dirt and the limp and the sadness. He stares at it too long, and he whispers your name, your real name, the one you still remember in the back, corner of your ruined heart. You wake up crying, or maybe it's just the wind in your eyes. You curl tighter. A man walks past with groceries, doesn't see you. You're too small now, too sunken, too much of a shadow to register. You wonder if you could vanish entirely, just fade into the snow, one breath at a time. Would anyone know? Would anyone even look? You sit up slowly, every joint creaking like doors in abandoned buildings. And then you do something that surprises you. You walk again, not because you're hopeful, but because you're still here. And being still here means walking. That's all survival is now. One more step, and maybe, if you keep walking long enough, the world will get tired of punishing you. Or you'll find another old woman with stale bread and kind hands. Or a porch that smells like yours used to. Or a child who doesn't ask questions, just opens the door and says, "Do you want to? Come in." And if none of that happens, if it's just more snow, more pain, more alleyways and cheap mercy, then at least you'll know you didn't stop being a good dog. Even when no one was watching. Even when it didn't mean anything. Even when the only reward left was not freezing today. You limp forward, not toward anything, just away. Away from that house. Away from that dog. Away from the name no one says anymore. The world is quieter now, and so are you. You've been tired before, but not like this. Not the kind of tired that starts in the blood and seeps out through the eyes, coating everything you see with a thin film of, "I can't do this anymore." Not the kind of tired that makes you forget where you were going halfway through the step. No, this is new. This is bone tired, nerve tired. A kind of tired where even your hunger's too exhausted to complain. The kind of tired that makes you lie down for just a second and wake up 4 hours later, confused and colder than you were when you stopped. You don't remember sleeping last night. You remember curling up behind a dumpster because the wind couldn't get all the way in. You remember licking your paws until they stopped throbbing. You remember dreaming about a porch that didn't have you anymore. Then you remember standing again. No decision, just motion. And now here you are, walking, limping, dragging your ribs and your tail and your ruined hope toward nowhere. The snow is falling again, thick now, lazy. It piles in your fur like the sky's trying to cover you before the world sees what it did. You slip once, paw catching on ice under a sheet of fast food wrappers and slush. You don't yelp. You don't whine. You just lie there for a moment, blinking at the grey sky like it owes you an explanation. It doesn't give one. It never does. You force yourself back up. You pass a parking lot where the cars are all asleep, little metal creatures wrapped in frost and regret. You pass a bench where someone has written "Help me" in permanent marker. You wonder if they ever got it. You pass a church. The lights are off. There's a paper sign on the door that says "Food. Pantry closed until spring." Of course it is. You keep walking. A bakery window glows in the distance, its light golden and impossibly warm. Inside, a man sweeps crumbs off a counter into his hand, like they're trash instead of treasure. You stare. Not at the food, not really. At the light, the way it shines on his hands, on the tiles, on the parts of the world that are allowed to be warm. You think about going to the door, pressing your nose to the glass, letting him see what the world made of you. But you don't, because he won't open the door. They never do. You lie down instead, behind a trash can across the street. Far enough to not be a problem, close enough to imagine you're part of it. You rest your head on your paws. You let your eyes close. Not because you're safe, because you're so very, very tired of pretending you will be. You drift for a while, into half dreams. Not the vivid kind, not anymore, just flickers. Of warmth, of running, of a name you almost remember. Then something tugs at your brain, a sound, crunching, soft feet. You open, one eye, a girl, small, bundled in a coat too big for her. She's holding something in her mittened hands. You tense, but not out of fear, just habit. She kneels down slowly. You don't move. You're too tired to run and too wise to hope. She unwraps a napkin, sets it in front of you like an offering. There's half a sandwich inside, peanut butter, jelly, smushed but whole. You stare at it. She backs up, not scared, just respectful. She sits in the snow, knees pulled to her chest, watching you like you're the most fragile thing in the world. You sniff the sandwich. Then you eat. Slowly. The jelly is cold, the bread stiff, but it's real, honest, given freely, not tossed, not yelled, not bait. When it's gone, you lick your lips, then the napkin, then the ground. You look at her. She smiles. She says nothing. You wag your tail, just once, because it's all you have the energy for. She reaches out, not fast, not loud, just a little hand in a wool mitten, extended like an invitation. You don't flinch. You lean in. She touches your ear, runs her fingers down your head. You close your eyes, and for a second, just one small, silent second, you feel warm. She doesn't try to take you, doesn't shout for her parents, doesn't post a photo and say, "Look what I found." She just sits with you until someone calls her name. Emily. A woman. Distant. Annoyed. Emily looks at you, then back at the voice. She says, "Okay." Not like she wants to. She stands, pats your head one more time, says, "You're a good dog," like it's the first time anyone's said it in years. And she leaves. Just like that. And you're alone again. But something's different. Not the cold, not the pain, not the ache. You're different. Because someone saw you. Not the stray, not the shadow, not the problem. You, and called you good. You lie there for a long time. Eyes half closed, watching the snowfall. It covers your paws, then your tail, then your back. It doesn't feel cruel. Now just quiet, like the world is tucking you in. You close your eyes, not to die, not yet, just to rest. Finally, you don't dream this time. Not about the porch, not about the boy, not even about the name. There's no dream of being found, no final sprint toward open arms, no magic door opening at the last second. There's just silence, heavy, whole, uninterrupted. The kind of silence you used to hear between thunderclaps. The kind that wraps around you and presses into your ears until everything inside you quiets too. You wake slowly, not startled, not afraid, just here, still beneath the bus bench, still beneath the sky that forgot how to shine. Your joints ache. Before your eyes open, your lungs pull cold air in like it's made of lead. You wheeze, then stop, because even your breath is tired. You try to stretch your legs. They move, but barely. It's not pain anymore. It's something worse. Weight, like your body's given up pretending it wants to be a body, like it's just waiting on you to catch up and let go. Your stomach growls, late to the party, as always. You ignore it. You've ignored it for weeks now. Hunger's no longer a signal. It's background noise. You shift your head and watch your breath curl into the air in thin white ribbons. The snow has thickened overnight. It blankets everything. Soft, merciless. The world looks cleaner when it's covered in white. But you know the truth. You've seen what's under it. You were what's under it. Trash bags and frostbitten paws and shame and old shoes and styrofoam boxes with one bite of burger left. That's still out there, still waiting beneath the illusion of purity. You lie still. For a long time. The street is quiet. The city has slowed. Even the humans walk differently in snow. Heads down, coats pulled tight, feet scuffing instead of striding. They pass you like you're part of the landscape, a snowdrift, a trash bag, a forgotten coat left behind when winter arrived early. One boy does look, not your boy. Not that it matters anymore. This one is taller, shoulders hunched, a face hidden behind a scarf, and a phone. He pauses. You feel his eyes on you, then he shakes his head, says something you can't hear, and walks on. You almost laugh. Almost. But you're too tired. A bird hops nearby, pokes at the snow, flutters off. Even the pigeons have places to be. You wonder what that's like, to have somewhere to go. somewhere that matters, a place you belong, not a place you remember, not a place you were once loved, a place that says, yes, you, stay here. You never found that again, but you kept walking anyway. That counts for something, doesn't it? You close your eyes again. Not because you're giving up, because there's nothing left to check, no more fences to sniff, no more porches to hope for, no more scents that make your tail lift just in case. Just cold, just snow, just you. And it's not as bad as you thought it'd be. It's quiet here. The pain is dull now. The body is still. You listen for footsteps. None come. You wait for a voice. None calls your name. You wonder briefly what happens next. Maybe nothing. Maybe just this. And maybe that's okay, because you were a good dog. Even when no one said it. Even when no one fed you. Even when the leash never came back. Even when they replaced you with something shinier and cleaner and easier to love. You were still good. You didn't bite the girl who tried to pet you with frozen hands. You didn't bark at the bakery man. You didn't snarl at the dog on your old porch, the one wearing the name you once earned. You just kept moving, kept breathing, kept hoping, until even hope was too tired to stand. And now the snow covers your back. It buries your scent. It hides your ribs. It tucks you in. You feel it pile softly across your spine, your tail, your neck. You don't shake it off. You let it happen. You let the world go quiet. Not with a fight. Not with a cry. Not with a final bark begging someone to notice. You let go the way dogs do. Faithfully, quietly, without needing to be told they were loved one last time, because you already knew, even if they didn't. And somewhere, maybe, a boy who once threw you tennis balls in summer still dreams of a wagging tail on the porch that always waited. And maybe, just maybe, he stirs in his sleep tonight, and your name brushes past his lips, soft, forgotten, but still there. The snow keeps falling, and for the first time in a long time, you are warm. Not because the cold stopped, because you stopped needing it to. You are still. You are done. You were a good dog, and they just left anyway. But you didn't.